Thank you to everybody who donated things to the yard sale. For those of you who came to the yard sale and took some of the yard sale home with you, thank you. Thank you, very successful. Mason, what was the target amount?
We were wanting to raise about $2,000 and we got almost that. So.
Almost 2,000.
Yep.
Awesome. So that is great. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, how many of you go to Sunday school right after this service? Okay. If those of you going to Sunday school will pack one box.
I'm sorry.
There's lots of packing material. Toys for Tots is coming tomorrow to pick up all of the rest. So if we have it packed up, it'll be that much easier for them. But if you see anything you want to buy, just give the money to Mason or Kelly. So there's still an opportunity to shop a little bit. But if you can help pack up, that would be wonderful. Okay? Now, I'm not saying you guys take all your Sunday school time to do that, but even just pack one box. So we'll see how that goes. So, as we look to our announcements, I'm going to let you read them. But the biggie is that Tuesday night Presbyterian will be meeting here. So that's why we're trying to make sure that we have everything kind of picked up and organized. So they will be here starting at about 4:30, 5 o'clock. The meeting itself starts at 5:30. So if you're willing to come and help, be here about 4:30 and I'll put you to work. Okay? So thank you for that. So with all that being said, let us join together in our call to worship. To you, O God, we lift our hearts.
Listen to our voices and answer.
The Lord is good and forgiving, abounding in steadfast love.
God has mercy saints with grace and mercy.
So let us glorify God's holy name together.
We come to worship God in love and loyalty.
Let us worship God together.
Please stand and join us for our opening songs. The first one is Shout to the North and the South, and then the second one is Thy Word.
little bit. Verses 1 through 10, then 16 through 17. Hear me, Lord, and answer me, for I am poor and needy. Guard my life, for I am faithful to you. Save your servant who trusts in you. You are my God. Have mercy on me, Lord, for I call to you all day long. Bring joy to your servant, Lord, for I put my trust in you. You, Lord, are forgiving and good, abounding in love to all who call to you. Hear my prayer, Lord. Listen to my cry for mercy. When I am in distress, I call to you because you answer me. Among the gods, there is none like you, Lord. No deeds can compare with yours. All the nations you have made will come and worship before you, Lord. They will bring glory to your name, for you are great and do marvelous deeds. You alone are God. Turn to me and have mercy on me. Show your strength in behalf of your servant. Save me because I serve you just as my mother did. Give me a sign of your goodness, that my enemies may see it and be put to shame. For you, Lord, have helped me and comforted me. And then we come to a passage from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 10, verses 24 through 39. And this is a very difficult passage of Scripture. We don't like this one. But still, as God's people, we have a responsibility to even read the parts of Scripture that make us uneasy, because that's where we grow. So Matthew writes to us, the student is not above the teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for students to be like their teachers and servants like their masters. If the head of a house has been called Beelzebul, how much more the members of his household? So do not be afraid of them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid, you are worth more than many sparrows. Whoever acknowledges me before others, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever disowns me before others, I will disown before my Father in heaven. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. That's kind of against the message of Christmas, isn't it? I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Ouch. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. This is the word of our God. from Matthew. I really don't. I've worked with too many families where there's a lot of discord and dysfunction, and I've seen it play out in real life. And thinking, oh, this is not good. And then to find that Jesus is coming and saying that he's coming to do this, something's missing there. And what I think is that Jesus is being brutally honest with us. Jesus is preparing us that if we follow his teachings and do what he asks us to do, it isn't going to be easy. There are going to be difficulties. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be times we're going to go, Calgon, take me away. Or, remember those commercials? And then I think of the fears that we have. I was doing some research last night on how many fears and phobias there are. There are hundreds of them. I'm not going to ask you what yours are. And I don't think I'm going to confess what mine are. But remember what we were taught when we were kids. What did we do when we were afraid when we were kids? I tried hiding under my bed with my stuffed dog Phoebe. One of these days you'll meet Phoebe. I know where Phoebe is. Not stuffed away in a box that I can't find. But I know where Phoebe is. Phoebe was my source of comfort as a child. And I would cuddle that stuffed dog and hide under the bed when the thunder was booming around me. And last night I was sitting on my bed and going over my sermon notes, and the thunder is fireworks booming somewhere in the neighborhood. Same thing. And well, that's what that is. No biggie. And remember the Disney cartoon. Whenever I feel afraid, can you finish the line? I hold my head up high and whistle a happy tune. Okay, I don't remember which Disney movie it's from, but I remember that song. And I remember my mother telling me, as you grow up, there are going to be difficult times ahead. But all you have to do is wear your prettiest dress and a smile. I gave up wearing dresses a long time ago. The last time I wore a dress was for my sister Martha's funeral a year ago in July. It's just so much easier to get around to church and check doors and bend over to pick up children, not in a dress. Okay? As far as a smile, sometimes that's hard to do when I got 18 things going on in my brain and my feet hurt. But I try. I try, Mom. I really do. But for all of us, when we stand up for our beliefs, there is a price that we pay. And Jesus knew how costly that price would be. And he tried to warn us. So in the passage, I can accept that passage from Matthew when I understand it in that way. That Jesus is preparing us for what is to come and to not let anything distract us from doing his task and to sharing his message. He wanted his disciples to thoroughly understand how their lives would be impacted if they chose to follow him. He wanted them to make a wise choice. Not like some of these schemes that we hear, sign up for this great deal. I did that once in Ohio. Signed up with Time Warner Cable. The introductory offer, only X amount of dollars a month. And it wasn't until after I signed up that they gave me the fine print. I said, after that, time was up. Price went way much higher. And I just called them and threatened to cancel, and they gave me lower prices. Sometimes you can negotiate. But when it comes to our lives as God's people, we have a tendency to water down the message of Jesus. We want to focus on the gentle Jesus, the one that picked up the children and cuddled them and cherished them and loved them, the gentle Jesus who made sure that people got fed, made sure that people got healed. We forget the revolutionary Jesus, who said he came to bring a sword and to divide family members one against the other. We're still looking for that politically correct Messiah, and so we create a modern Jesus who fits that image. Well, by today's standards, Jesus wouldn't make a very good politician, would he? He wasn't a good politician back then either. A politician has to say things that people want to hear in order to survive in the political arena. I mean, watch the news. Watch the number of people coming forward to run for national office and what they're saying. And then what's interesting is to hear what they're saying now compared to what they were saying in a previous campaign. And put those side by side. See what I mean? I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that's what we all can see. See, many politicians try to win votes by making promises that often twist the truth. And when we hear one that's honest and is really willing to work for the people, it is so refreshing. Yay. Yay. And there are many more good politicians than the negative ones. The good ones just don't get the press. Jesus tried to win souls by telling the truth and promising people a selfless, difficult path ahead. One of the most effective advertisements ever written appeared in a London newspaper early in the 20th century. And it read, "Men wanted for a hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful." Would any of us want to respond to that in a positive way and say, sign me up? But actually, the writer of that ad did get a lot of people responding to it. It happened to be Sir Ernest Shackleton, who explored the South Pole. And he had a lot of people who wanted to accompany him. Jesus may well have written a similar ad when looking for his disciples. See if this applies to us. Looking for trouble-seeking people, good learners, not afraid of heights such as standing on rooftops, potential for physical harm, no strong attachments to any other living relative or friend, total commitment required, volunteer position with no compensation. Would we want to sign up? Say that's not really appealing. I don't want to sign up. But guess what? If we say we are God's people, we already have. Already have. Now, Jesus did not purposely send people out looking for trouble. But he knew that if he went out with the message he was sending, they would eventually find it, the trouble would find them. We've all heard the phrase, don't burn your bridges behind you. Yet words attributed to Jesus not only burn bridges, but also destroy whole highways. Jesus doesn't just send out his disciples with a few matches to light fires. He sends them out with explosive words to demolish the old schools of thought and to challenge the way people think. And maybe, if we're uncomfortable with the things that we hear, with the things that we see going on around us, maybe we need to stop and ask, how is God challenging me through this? What am I meant to see that I'm not seeing right now? It isn't a matter of, okay, we just work until everybody agrees on a solution. Sometimes that works. I'm not negating that. But sometimes we just have to open our minds a little bit more and let our hearts open a whole lot more. Followers of Jesus are not called to retreat into the status quo of society. We're not called to be like everybody around us. We are called to be different. We are called to be a light in the darkness. We are called to be a source of comfort, a place of safety. A place where a little one can come and color a picture on the back pew and it's okay. A picture, a place where people can come and ask the difficult questions as we live our lives. A place where we can support one another even when we don't agree on everything. The meek might inherit the earth, but only the fearless can carry out the work of the church within the world. And I thought those days were over, but they're not. If anything, it's getting harder and harder and harder. Only the courageous can destroy the highways and burn the bridges that lead the unknowing to the destruction of their souls. When Erroneous was emperor of Rome, about the year 480, the great Colosseum of Rome was often filled to overflowing with spectators. People from far and near came to watch the games. Think Super Bowl. Part of the sport consisted in watching as human beings battled with wild beasts or against one another until one of them did not survive. Those assembled took great delight in such sport, especially the death of a human being. And maybe I'm thinking about this a little more now, but this morning before I came, I was watching the Smithsonian Channel and watching a piece on the end of World War II and some of those atrocities. A Syrian monk named Telemachus was appalled by the utter disregard for human life. At one such event, he leaped into the arena in the midst of the gladiators' combat and cried out, "This is not right. This must stop." Because he was interfering with their pleasure, the authorities gave the command for him to be run through with a sword. And that was done. Thus he died, but in dying he kindled a flame in the hearts and the consciences of people who were thinking about what they saw. History records that because of this heroic action, the action of one man, within a few months the gladiatorial combats began to decline, and shortly after they passed from history. Why? All because one man dared to speak out. Now maybe we don't face death in the literal sense. In our part of the world, that's not such a huge threat, or didn't used to be. I don't think we can say that now. That's why we keep our doors secure as much as we can. And if you've never been threatened for being a Christian, thank God. I have. I've been threatened with a gun doing a funeral. I had a man just within the last 5 years going for my neck, and he didn't want a hug. We may be put in a risky situation. With the rise in gun violence in our country, we just have to be aware. Not live in fear, but be aware and as safe as we possibly can be. Now, I don't mean to scare the living daylights out of you. There are plenty of things to rejoice in this world. More things to rejoice in than to be afraid of. I saw one last night. I actually watched a rainbow. I was sitting at the kitchen table once I finally found a corner of it. And I was eating my leftovers. And I looked out the window and all I could see was that steel gray that just kind of shines. Ooh, that's the gray for a rainbow. So I got up out of my chair, went to the window where I could see out, and sure enough, here's a patch of rainbow. Oh, that's cool. I looked and I could see the whole thing, all the way to the other side. And I looked a little closer, and I could see the second rainbow. Oh, is that fun? And so I watched it. I watched it get brighter and then fade, then get brighter again, and then it started to dissipate as the sun and the blue sky took over. So finally, all I could see was a patch of rainbow, but it was enough. It was enough to remind me of God's promise to always be with us. And so, when we are afraid, yes, whistle a happy tune. If you feel better dressing up and giving somebody a smile, go for it. But find a sign of God's promise to you. It might be a rainbow. It might be a dog or a cat that snuggles up next to you and purrs. And maybe the reason I like cats so much is because when they purr, the frequency of the purr is the same frequency that promotes healing. Or maybe find a verse from Scripture, commit it to memory, or write it down and put it where you can find it when you need it. Or maybe find a hymn. In fact, just this week, we had a lady who called and asked if we had any old hymnals, because that's what she liked to read for her devotions. We found them. We shared them. We may have difficult times as God's people. We may stand divided between all the powers at work in the world. But let us be reminded to come together because we are God's people. And God is with us always. To God be the glory. Amen. And so I ask us to stand as we affirm together, what do we believe? I believe in God, the Father Almighty, Maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, His only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Ghost, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried. He descended into hell. The third day He rose again from the dead. He ascended into heaven and sitteth on the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence He shall come to judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Ghost, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen. Please be seated. And that's another thing you can hang on to. Keep your bulletin handy, and when life gets tough, oh Lord, what's going on? Reread the Apostles' Creed. It will help to reset our focus. As we come to our time of prayer together, are there joys or concerns that you would like to share? Several things are listed. Well, I've got a couple of joys. Actually, they started listing them several. And it's going to be several. In my mailbox was a letter from the denomination from Ministry Engagement and Support. And I thought, oh, what now? But when I opened it, remember our 1 great hour sharing offering that we received during Lent? During Lent, Easter? Remember that? Anybody want to guess how much was donated? 1 great hour sharing? $705.62. Isn't that amazing? And that's going to help people all around the world. It is a joy that the yard sale went so well. We had so many things, lovely things donated and found a home. There was one lady on Friday morning who was looking at a toy for her granddaughter. And she said, my granddaughter's 1.5 years. I said, oh, then this would be perfect for her. So she and I played together with the toy. It was one of those shaped sort of things. I don't know if it made a noise or not because I couldn't get the battery cover off. I didn't have a Phillips head screwdriver in my pocket. But I said, 1.5 years, I wouldn't want the flashing lights and noise. Just let her play with it and giggle. And then I saw this little doll next to it. And I said, 1.5 years? Your granddaughter needs a cuddly. And she just looked at me and she said, this is by donation, right? I said, yes, it is. And I put it in her box and she was so happy. So we had people who came for fellowship and to find treasures and a lot of work, and kudos to Mason and Kelly for all that they did. But it was a great event. And then, starting later this summer, we will be home to a Girl Scout troop again. So there are 14 Girl Scouts in the troop, and they will be joining us probably sometime in August. We've had Girl Scouts before, and then, like all organizations, it kind of ebbs and flows, and we didn't have them for a long time, and now Girl Scouts will be a part of our family again. And then something else that I'm very excited about that we are in the final stages of, the leases have been signed, and I think completely signed. But starting in July, in Westminster Hall, we will be a site for the Clearfield County Center for Active Living. So this will be a place for seniors to come and enjoy programs, to enjoy fellowship, maybe some healthcare presentations. Meals on Wheels will be delivering meals to us. And all we have to do is open our doors and say, come on in. Everything else is taken care of. What a wonderful opportunity. Studies have shown that when a church opens its doors to other groups coming in, the blessings are immense. Immense. And who knows, some of these folk might be looking for a church home. So, you'll be hearing more about that as it gets underway. We'll be making the list of activities and the menus available. In fact, I may just hang around and have lunch here before I go home. You never know. But, and if anybody is afraid of that, these are not the seniors that need all kinds of assistance and personal care. We're not equipped to handle that population. So we do what we can. See, we don't have to do it all. We're just called to do what we can. So, for me, those are joys. Okay, so, alrighty. Anything you can think of. And let us turn to God in prayer. Let us pray. Oh God of grace, you created our minds to grow in wisdom. You created our hearts to expand with love for you and your world. You created our voices to sing your praises forever. Fill us to overflowing with your Holy Spirit, so that we may worship you and serve you in spirit and in truth, bold and unafraid to follow Jesus, even when there are challenges in front of us. During this time of worship together, assure us of your presence with us. Continue to reveal to us the path you open before us, for we live to serve as your people wherever you lead, knowing that you are with us always. And so as we each come with joys and concerns of our own hearts and minds, as we watch the news and hear good things and tragedies, we simply put all these things in your hands. Strengthen us as we lift our voices together to pray as your Son taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
For our closing song, we're going to sing Blessed Be Your Name. I believe this is new to many of us, but we're going to sing it this week, and then we're going to sing it again next week, and then we'll be perfect. All right, so this is Blessed Be Your Name. Please stand and sing. Okay.
is the sign outside a Friend's church on 322. And the sign for this week says, "Courage is fear that has said its prayers." Ooh. So that gives you something to think about. Courage is fear that has said its prayers. Let us leave this place in faithfulness, ready to serve our God, trusting that God counts each of our lives as so precious. And may God bless us and keep us, and may God's face shine upon us, and may God grant us grace and peace this day and always.